Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to continue my discussion about rappers in the industry and how they basically sold us out. They've betrayed us for a bag. A few months ago on Instagram, I posted that, when rappers said F the police in the early 90s, it was considered dangerous because music influences behavior. And the government attempted to shut them down because of these lyrics. But when rappers say F niggas and the B word, it is not dangerous or destructive because it's just entertainment. And I was trying to expose the hypocrisy of a lot of black men and women in the music industry who are willing to sacrifice their people for a bag, for clout, for fame, for money, for prestige. So after Takeoff died, or he was murdered, a white executive named Robert Starbuck dropped dime on the industry. He talked about the fact that black men were being used as weapons to destroy their community and their culture, and that they had the power to change. And I want to let you guys listen to it, then I'll come back with my commentary.
Hey guys, in light of seeing that a rapper from Migos died, I just wanted to go ahead and make a video about something I have a unique experience in. So I directed a bunch of rappers, people like Gucci Mane, Snoop Dogg, Lil Yachty, the list goes on and on and on, okay? I learned a lot of things, and I have left the industry largely over my political beliefs, but there is something I want to impart to people to hopefully, make some sort of change happen. So I have a challenge to rappers, and I know some of you still follow me. I know a bunch of the celebrity blogs still follow me from trying to get news from music videos and things like that. So here's the truth. The truth is this: a bunch of young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry is obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people, but they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it. The reality is, I know a lot of you. A lot of you are good people. You're family guys. You're not the image that you put out there to the world. Why? Why don't you be the example? Stand up. I challenge you. Be the example. Make music about the culture you want to see. Don't just get online today and talk about how, whenever a rapper makes it, his own people take him down. Don't just make those videos. Don't be sad. Don't rest in peace. None of that stuff. Be the change you want to see. Inspire it in your community. Reach out to other rappers and say, we have to stop. We're being used. You've been used for a long time. They create this paradigm to make you believe that you're so important and your celebrity status is worth so much, but in truth, you're a pawn in their game and you always have been. The government has wanted to hold down communities of people in different ways through different methods for a very long time. Their method in the black community has been to use entertainment to create a culture obsessed with death, drugs, sex, and money so that they could create a false paradigm of what happiness and what success really was. And in doing so, they created a world that also made people more dependent on government, and as a result, gave themselves more power. The record executives that push you to do this, to go and continue to profit off the backs of your work, they're in cahoots with the elite. They're in cahoots with the government. They want you to think you're important, but in truth, you're just doing their dirty work for them, so stop. They've empowered you in ways that are real. You have an audience. You have platforms. You have the ability to make change. So go against the grain together. They're more afraid of you all together standing up and creating a new culture that's built around family, faith, freedom, doing the right thing, valuing life, than they are of anything else. So I challenge you, use your power to do the right things. If you continue to do the same thing you've done, more rappers like this are going to die. How many have to die before you change the culture? And let me tell you something else. There's a reason the record labels pay us more to do rap videos. They don't tell you that, do they? Do they tell you that they pay us more to do your videos? Because they do. They do it because they know it's more dangerous. They do it because they know it's more difficult. And they do it because, frankly, there's a lot of money laundering involved. Those labels wash a bunch of money through We don't do it, but we know the labels are doing it 100%. Okay, they're then taking the money off the top end, and you see on your royalty check, oh, they spent $150,000 on this video. Did they? Because we didn't see $150,000. Okay, so where did the money go? And to who? Their friend's company? A lot of times that's the case. Same thing with insurance companies. They charge us more to insure your videos. And it's because they know the culture that's been created. They know that the only possibility of a music video being shot up is on a rap video. And that's the truth. So change the culture. You have the power. Your people deserve it.
So Mr. Starbuck said some cute things, but he's not saying anything that we haven't been talking about or complaining about in the past 30 years as it pertains to the hip hop industry. We've been saying this for decades, right? Black folks have been complaining about this for decades. And instead of heeding the warnings of our elders, we attack them for trying to do the right thing. In the Black community, when you try to do the right thing, you are attacked. That is how ass backwards we are as a people. Not all Black people, because some Black people have morals and values and they have integrity. But by and large, the community attacks Black people, other Black folks, for trying to steer us in the right direction. This is what happened to Bill Cosby. This is what happened to Monique recently when she was talking about Black women wearing bonnets in the street. And we were like upset about respectability politics. We don't like respectability politics. We don't like the idea of being held accountable to a certain standard of conduct. We hate that as a people. And we've hated it for the past 50 years. We wanted the right to be able to do what we wanted to do. Smoke crack, do heroin, abandon our children, have casual sex with a bunch of random men and women, right? Not commit to any relationships, not take care of any of our kids, not invest in our children's future. We wanted the right to be as ratchet as possible, and we fought for that. Tooth and nail. Don't tell me what to do. My ancestors were slaves. So respectability politics does not apply to me. I should not be held to any sort of standard. I should be excused for not having any civility because I was once a slave. It's always somebody else's fault why we are not doing what we're supposed to do. And we want sympathy points for slavery. We want to be able to do what we want to do because we were once slaves and we were impoverished and attacked and sabotaged by the government. All which is true, right? We were attacked by the government. The government sabotaged our communities and our cultures. But that does not mean that we don't have any autonomy and personal choice. We have the personal choice to have as many abortions as we want to. We have the personal choice to take drugs, right? Become alcoholics, sleep with anybody we want to, but we don't have the personal choice to do the right thing and act as if we have some sort of class and civility about ourselves. That's an issue for us. So when people try to tell us this is not the right way to go, we have to move differently. We have to think about our future generations. We cannot keep celebrating destruction and debauchery and criminality in our culture. We attack the people who were trying to warn us. We said we have a right to be hoes. We have a right to be sluts. We have a right to be criminals. That means we are free. That means we have Black power. We have the power to destroy ourselves. That is what we've been celebrating for the past 50 years. When you give people who don't love themselves freedom, they ultimately end up destroying themselves because they don't understand that with freedom comes responsibility. You have a responsibility to yourself and your community to make sure that future generations benefit from your sacrifices. Besides marriage and relationships and responsibility, what has the Black community at large sacrificed? We do what we want to do. There's no more shame. A few years ago, Amber Rose was doing some sort of slut walk, and she was bragging about being a slut. But she did her slut walk. And Lord Jamar went on Vlad TV. He was like, we should be shaming people. Because Amber was talking about, she was tired of being slut shamed and things like that. And then Lord Jamar was like, sluts should be shamed. Shame does not mean that you're hated. It means that you are being reprimanded for behavior that is destructive to yourself and your community, especially if you're a mother. So sluts should be shamed. Now, people should not be shamed for making mistakes and taking corrective action. People should be shamed for doing the wrong thing and not changing their behavior and insisting that what they're doing wrong is actually right. Me being a slut is not destroying my family and my community. It's empowering for women. No, it's not. Allowing your body to be used by men who don't care about you is not empowering for anybody. Black men and women spend too much time celebrating destructive behavior. Okay? Now, back to what Robert Starbuck said. He said some nice things, right? He said things that we've heard before. But he is assuming that Black men care about other Black men being killed. He's trying to make a moral appeal to men who have shown themselves to be largely immoral. He's assuming that these men don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for decades. Rappers like T.I. and rappers like Ice-T, and they knew what they were doing because they were being told years ago that this was not good for our community and our culture. And they always had the same excuse. We're just journalists. We're just reporting on what's happening in our communities. But why are you still reporting on what's happening in the community if you're now living in the suburbs? You're now living in a mansion. Why are you still promoting death and destruction if that's not your current reality? Why are you promoting it as something to aspire to, unless you're not quote unquote real? Why are you promoting that if that's not your current situation? Why are you making music that celebrates death and destruction? A few months ago on this channel, I posted some commentary from Mos Def saying that the music industry only promotes 5 types of music. He said dance music, violence, drugs, sex, and glamour. Those were the 5 categories that were being promoted. And he mentioned this more than, 10 years ago? This is not something that was not known. As a matter of fact, rappers know more than we do what's going on because they're in the boardrooms with these executives. The record executives are part of their social network, so they know exactly what's going on. How do we know it and they don't know it? These rappers are going to pretend to be ignorant as long as it is profitable to them. Little Boosie a few days ago was crying and said, yeah, he don't want to be a rapper no more. We used to be heroes. Heroes of what? And heroes to who? A rapper would never be my hero. A rapper could never be my hero. Now, I love rappers like Mos Def. I love rappers like Lupe Fiasco. I love rappers like Outkast. Rappers who basically celebrate the good parts of our culture, who tell stories that are not centered around death and destruction and whoredom. Yes, some of them have dicey songs, but by and large, their brand has not revolved around destroying the Black image and Black culture. That's not what they promote, and that's not what they're known for. A lot of conscious rappers leave the industry because of the politics, because they're tired of fighting against the grain and trying to promote positive and affirming music. And, the record labels don't promote it. They don't put any money behind it. But it's not just the men doing this. It's also women. For the past couple of decades, I would say, maybe a couple decades, Black women have chosen, not just Black women, exotic and Black women, okay? Spicy white and exotic women and Black women have been used to promote negative images and negative messaging. One of my favorite songs was from Lupe Fiasco. I think it was released in 2014. He had a song called Next to It. And he was basically saying that whenever you put a pretty girl next to something, it becomes a lot more marketable. It becomes more sellable. It becomes more desirable. So you put a pretty girl next to a busted car. Somebody wants to buy the car. You put a pretty girl next to, a bowl of salad. Somebody's going to want to eat the salad. You put a pretty girl in a rap video. People will subscribe to whatever's in that video, right? So they use women to market beautiful women, beautiful naked women like slaves on an auction block to make their degradation more appealing. So you got the music, then you got the lyrics and the man, giving the girl attention, and she's being used to cast a spell on the men and the women in the audience. The women want to be her, and the men want a woman who looks just like her. So they think that in order to get a woman who's like a thought in a music video, they have to be a rapper too. The naked, beautiful stripper woman in the rap video is like, it's formulaic. Put a woman in a video with a garbage song, the men will say, oh, that's hot. That's fire. That's flames. Right? So the rappers in the music industry are intentional about the images that they're selling. They're intentional about the culture they want to promote. I mentioned that they're promoting a third world country culture that places a high premium on beauty over any other characteristic. Forget intellect, forget integrity, forget morals, forget femininity. No, she got a big booty, light skin, and long hair. That is all you need to be a successful Black man in this country. I got a big booty, light skin, and big boobies. That's all I need to be desirable to a bunch of men who are worth nothing by and large. So the men and women subscribe to this. And this has been sold by the music industry. There's a reason why all of the women on social media look like video vixens, including Kim Kardashian. People forget that Kim Kardashian was trying to emulate the video vixens of the early 2000s. Women like Melissa Ford or Buffy the Body or Corinne Steffens, she was trying to look like those women, right? So it's not a coincidence that everybody wants to look like a video vixen or a bootleg version of Kim Kardashian. The male and female rappers look like carbon copies of each other, and the people, the audience they're influencing are trying to emulate them. So how is it not having an influence? We weren't dressing like thoughts and strippers in the 50s and 60s and 70s. We weren't doing that. But once hip hop culture came around, it changed the way we dressed. It changed the way we thought. It changed the way we communicated. It changed the way we interacted with each other. It changed our ideas about who we are in a negative way. So Robert Starbuck may have good intentions, but he's assuming that the people he's talking to have a moral code. He's assuming that these rappers, the male and female rappers, love their people enough to stop with the negative stereotypes and to stop with the negative representation. That's an assumption. Most of these rappers are very self-centered. Not all of them, but they're self-centered. All they care about is money and fame. That's it. They don't care who they have to sacrifice to get it. As evidenced in their personal lives, most of them cannot maintain healthy relationships because they're very self-centered people. He's trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're civilized people, and most of them are not. Most of them grew up in dire poverty, and they're desperate for any way to get out. It doesn't matter what they have to do to get out. They will sell their own children to get out of the hood. They have been doing things to get out of their situation since they were 12, 13, and 14 years old because their parents were probably trash. Or they were raised in a stable, loving, two-parent home, right? Like Casanova 2X. They were raised in this environment, but then guess what happened? They wanted to be part of the streets and the hood because the streets in the black community, the streets worship rappers. Rappers are the heroes of the streets, right? So now, once the tide is turning against the rapper, we're going to see how many of them flee and change their messages. We're going to see how cowardly these men are. Because now the tide seems to be changing. You're no longer worshipped. You're actually targeted for violence, right? And by and large, the public is blaming you for promoting violence and destruction in the community and saying that you deserve to get clapped because of the energy you're putting out into the universe. A few weeks ago, I talked about the chickens coming home to roost as far as P&B Rocks being murdered. Now, the entertainers are part of the entertainment. I said that, for the past 30 years, yes, rappers have been getting attacked, but they largely saw our death and destruction as a source of their entertainment. And they capitalized off of our death and destruction. But now, the pendulum is swinging, and they're a part of the show too. So they're no longer safe in their mansions. They're no longer safe with their money. They're being targeted as well because they have helped to destroy the community to the point where now they're going to become food too. I said this a few weeks ago. So they're getting what they deserve because they didn't care when we were getting clapped. They didn't care we were getting killed or raped or drugged. They didn't care when our families were being destroyed, right? They didn't care about that because, again, they were rich. And them being rich meant that they were no longer black. They were of a different class. So now they could tell us that it's not about the lyrics. It's just entertainment. And then they say, well, it's not entertainment. I'm just talking about my reality, my situation. So is it entertainment or is it reality? Which one is it? And why do you want your people to be entertained by trauma porn? I was poor, I was dirty, I had to kill somebody, I was this. Why is that entertainment? Entertainers and entertainment is celebrated. Why would you want to celebrate your oppression? Why would you want to do that? So Robert, even though he said some great points that have already been stated many times before, he's assuming these people don't know that already. They know this and they don't care because they're desperate to get out. The only way that these rappers will change their tune is if by and large the public begins to turn against them, because most of these rappers are cowards and they don't really stand on anything besides making money. They want to be revered for taking the easy way out. What's the easy way out? Being a thug, being a criminal, being a rapper or entertainer. They don't want to go to school or earn a trade. No, they want to take the easy road to fame and success, which is basically poisoning their own people. But once that's no longer popping, they're not going to change because they think it's the wrong thing to do and they have seen the light. They're only going to change because they don't want to deal with the backlash from their community, who they need for narcissistic worship. They need us to worship them. They're not leaders. Leaders will do something right or wrong and stand on what they're doing and defend their right to do what they're doing. Most of these rappers, once the tide is changing and they feel like the public is no longer in support of whatever they're doing, by and large, because it's very destructive and they're being targeted by it, they will more than likely change their tune because they're cowards. A lot of them are cowards. A lot of them are lazy. A lot of them are stupid. Cowards, lazy, stupid, and desperate for money. A recipe for disaster. So these rappers only feel comfortable defending the bullshit if they're getting support from powerful people in the record industry. Once the record industry begins to change their tune as well, these rappers will all of a sudden have a come to Jesus moment. Like, oh, I've been doing the wrong thing the whole time. I need to change my ways and do better for my community. Like Little Boosie is saying. He's tired of being a rapper. He don't want to be a rapper no more. Yeah, because rappers should have never been put on a pedestal. Ever. Entertainers should never be the voice of a community. Ever. And this only started happening after the civil rights movement. And the reason why entertainers became the voice of the Black community was because entertainers have a different network of people than the average Black person, right? So a Black entertainer or athlete or rapper living in, Beverly Hills doesn't have the same circle of influence as the average Black person, okay? Entertainers can be influenced in ways that the average Black person cannot. Most entertainers want access to whiteness, white power, white men, white women, white whatever, white opportunities. So their objectives, by and large, are mostly self-serving. And this is one of the reasons why entertainers should have never been the face of Black activism. Because people's loyalties or their objectives change when lots of money is involved. And these entertainers do have access to a lot more money than the average Black person does. So their concerns aren't exactly the same. They're not as connected with their communities once they, move out into the suburbs and into these wealthy enclaves. They don't have the same connection or the same concerns. There's a certain level of detachment because of changing circumstances. And your income bracket is different. Now it's no longer about race, it's about class, right? So your issues as a celebrity are not the same as the average person's issues. And as a result, they should not be the voice of the Black community. These rappers and entertainers should be just that, rappers and entertainers. That's it. They are not our leaders. They are not our educators. They are not Black excellence, by and large. Most of them are not. So yeah, we need to stop doing that. But yeah, back to Robert. Like I said, I appreciate him trying to say something, but they already know that. Like these men and women in our community don't care about betraying their people for a bag. We see people like Cardi B, very ratchet, vile, crude, ignorant, just, and somehow she's speaking to the president on behalf of the Black community. A fucking joke. I'm not saying she's an evil person. I'm saying that she's not a good role model. Neither her or Megan Thee Stallion. They're not good role models for our girls. And to be fair, it is not just the rapper's fault. It is the community's fault as well, the consumer's fault. We are buying their music. We are co-signing their belief system. We're co-signing their lifestyle. We want to be like them, right? So when someone tries to tell us this is not the right way to go, we will attack them. Just like we attacked Monique, just like we attacked Bill Cosby, just like we attacked Calvin Butts, just like we attacked C. Dolores Tucker, just like we attacked every person who's trying to steer us in the right direction. So it's not just the rapper's fault. It's the consumer's fault too. Now, I'm not a religious person whatsoever, but I'm going to read a Bible verse from Mark 5:13. Well, Mark 5:12-14. Verse 12 says, "So the demons begged Jesus, 'Send us to the pigs so that we may enter them.' Verse 13. He gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and went into the pigs. And the herd of about 2,000 rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned into the water. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what happened." The Black community reminds me of those pigs that have been infected by demons and are now running into the sea to commit suicide. They've been poisoned by this culture. And so now we are literally possessed by demons. The drugs, the alcohol, the promiscuity, the violence, the negative media, education, music, these are the demons that have been possessing Black folks for generations now. And I see us as a bunch of people who are just running off of a cliff blindly and wildly with no self-control, with no critical thinking, with no discipline, with no nothing, just like wild animals, just running off of a cliff, being possessed by these demons and like doing things that we have no control over. It seems like that's what it seems like to me. I'm not saying Black people are animals, but this, for some reason, when I think about our people, I think about this particular verse. I'm not a religious person at all, but for some reason, when I was like 16, 17 years old, I read the Bible page to page, front to back, every single chapter and verse. So although I don't remember everything about the Bible, there's certain verses that stick out and they come back to me years later in moments like this where I'm thinking about the conditions of our community. And this one verse really stuck out to me because I remember reading it for the first time and I'm like, this sounds like a horrible scene, like a bunch of demons possessing animals because they needed a host. They needed some sort of blood sacrifice. They couldn't get back into human bodies, so they had to find another vessel. And this vessel is animals who don't have any control of themselves in a sense. And the demons didn't possess any old animal. They possessed the pigs, the filthy animals, the fat, filthy animals that are just there for slaughter. And that is what the Black community has become. A bunch of people who have become possessed by these demons. And now we're vessels for principalities in high places who want to destroy humanity. As a collective, not every Black person individually, but as a collective, we have been doing the devil's work for decades. And the chickens are coming home to roost for all of us. I mentioned this a few weeks ago when I talked about the homeless issue in Atlanta. We have been doing the devil's work and enjoying it and celebrating it. And now we have to pay because we are in the Aquarian age. And Aquarius is karma and destruction. And it's going to happen faster and faster and faster. It will no longer take decades for you to see your karma. You're going to get it quicker. So fast that you will now be able to make a direct connection with your actions and the outcomes of those actions. Instead of saying, oh, it was something else. It was correlation, not causation. No. Rappers will no longer be able to say that violence and destruction is a correlation, not a causation of their lyrics. They're going to be able to see a direct connection with the energy that they're putting out and what they're getting back. And again, it's not just the men. The women are doing this too. The women are responsible for this also. The women are responsible for glorifying these disgusting men who disrespect them in their music. Yes, we are. Yes, the Black queens who are the mothers of civilization. We have twerked to our own destruction and degradation. Queens don't do that. Queens have class. Queens have self-respect. Queens don't allow raggedy men to ravage their bodies. Any old man because, it's sexual liberation. Queens don't do that. Now, a high priestess may do that because of sex magic. She can, use her body to heal people. That's another conversation. But by and large, queens don't do that. Queens understand the power that their energy has. They understand that whatever they put their focus on becomes amplified and it grows and it becomes stronger. So if you focus on your own degradation, you want to celebrate these rappers, you want to get the bag, right? You want to do anything to be a part of this subculture of destruction and dysfunction, this energy is going to become pervasive. It's going to represent us. Women do not initiate. We cultivate. We grow things. Men plant the seeds and we incubate whatever energy they've implanted in us, right? So what's been happening is that we have been planted with a seed of self-destruction and we've given birth to energetic destructive demons. And because we've given birth to them, we are now attached to them like we're attached to our babies. We're attached to the seeds that have been planted by these Black men because they were grown in our bodies. We used our energy to feed this destruction, to make it stronger, to make it bigger, to make it faster. So now we're attached to it because it's our baby too, right? So whenever our community is called out for doing the wrong thing, we feel personally attacked, just like a mother would if her baby was in danger. So what's the baby in this situation? The baby is the demon of destruction, dysfunction, hatred, degradation. Those are the babies that Black women have been giving birth to because of the seeds of helplessness, uselessness, cowardice, and fear that Black men have planted in them. If as a Black man you're a coward, you're going to plant seeds of cowardice. If as a Black man you don't care about betraying your people because you hate yourself, you're going to plant those seeds too. And the women are going to cultivate that. So Black women and men are responsible for this. So we have to fix this together. It can't be one-sided. It can't be the women saying, yeah, we're not going to listen to this anymore. And the men are still producing it because then they'll find another community of women who are willing to promote the degrading images. So about 15 years ago, women from Spelman were protesting Nelly's tip drill video. So what they did was, instead of using black women as the video vixens, they started using other women, Hispanic women, exoticals, because they were like, black women were complaining about being misrepresented. So men will always find the woman who's willing to degrade herself. This has to be a two-pronged attack. The men and the women have to stop supporting this culture. Stop having sex with these men who are trash, who are disrespecting you. Side note, I'm going to talk about what Drake said to Serena Williams' husband about him being a groupie. I'm going to talk about that either tomorrow or Monday. So anyway, the men and the women in our community have to both stop supporting this garbage. We have to both do it. We have to work together for once and not just hate on each other for our failures, but actually come together to solve a problem for once. Now, before I forget, Kevin Samuels, before he passed away, started his platform trying to teach black men how to be more presentable and more respectable to women, right? He was somebody who was of our older generation. He was someone who always dressed classy, was always sophisticated, and this is why many people thought he were gay, okay? His platform did not blow up when he was holding black men accountable for the way they presented themselves in the world and the way they were treated as a result. Kevin Samuels didn't blow up until he started to critique black women, because many black women do not want to take responsibility for themselves. They want to blame everybody for their own behavior. They want to be leaders, right? They want women to submit to them, but they don't know how to lead themselves out of a wet paper bag. Whenever somebody criticizes rap music, black men defend their right to destroy their community and degrade their women the most. They always complain about, oh, the record labels are doing this. It's what the women want to hear, right? But at the same time, you want to be treated as if you're a leader. You want someone to submit to you. But you're okay with being weaponized against your own community by these record executives. And then these men are going to blame the women for listening to it. The record executives are paying them. And so what control do you have in a situation? How are you a leader and you have no control over yourself? Women are controlling you and money's controlling you. You have no moral code. You have no integrity. So somebody can turn you into a whore for money. How am I supposed to submit to a man like that who's too weak to stand up for something on principle, even if it means he loses something that he values? But yeah, Kevin Samuels became popular after he started attacking black women or critiquing them, right? Giving them quote unquote constructive criticism. But I guess it wasn't constructive when he was talking about black men not doing what they're supposed to do. But anyway, I'm going to close it out. The guy, Robert, he was trying to do the right thing. I think he was trying to do the right thing by dropping dime on what was happening. But he's assuming that these black men don't know it. They don't care. A lot of them do not care. They will sit back and watch the community burn from their mansions with their exotic wives who are not of the community. They will use their community to enrich themselves so that they can buy an exotic wife who is not of their culture. This is the highest level of treachery. You're going to be a weapon against your own people so that you can take the riches that you've earned from destroying your people to enrich another culture who would hate you if you didn't have any money. This is nothing but treachery. And this is why men like Kanye West are not respected by the Jewish community. You can make us money, yeah, but you're not a part of our tribe. We don't move like that. We have more integrity when it comes to protecting our own. We're not sellouts like you are. We can't trust sellouts in this tribe. Sellouts weaken the community. The reason why we are strong still hundreds of years later is because we Jewish folk have an ironclad code of conduct. You black people don't have a code of conduct. No, as a matter of fact, your code of conduct is money over everything. Money by any means necessary. This is why you sold drugs to your own women and children. This is why you pimp and prostitute your own women. And this is why you're now being used as a weapon against your own community. You have no code of conduct. You have no ethics. We don't want you a part of this tribe. You're the weakest link. You have no leverage. Why would I want you in my situation? You're going to weaken my tribe that I've built for centuries. Why would I want you a part of that? You're a coward. You're a traitor. And you have no integrity. All you can do is be our court jester because you're talented, but you're a useful tool. That is it. You are not a power player, period. I don't care how much money we gave you. You're still not one of us. And, I can't hate the Jews for that. They're protecting their own people. That's what you're supposed to do. Just because the black community is okay with disrespecting themselves doesn't mean that other races or tribes are okay with being disrespected. Like, you can't get mad at them for doing what you don't do. And then say Black Lives Matter. How does Black Lives matter if your Black dignity doesn't even matter? Your Black self-respect doesn't even matter. You defend your right to be as ratchet and raggedy as possible, right? How does it matter? So no, if it don't matter to you, it don't matter to us. And don't get mad because we're giving you the same energy you're giving yourself. So don't expect us white and Jewish folk to treat you better than you've been treating yourself all along. Like, that's not our problem. That's not the Jews or the white man's problem. It's the problem of the Black men and women in your community who are willing to sell you out for a bag. And they've been doing this for at least 50, 60 years. That's why you had a crack epidemic. That's why you had a heroin epidemic. That's why you have a pedophile epidemic. That's why you have a crime epidemic. That's why you are the demon-possessed pigs that are running into the ocean. Because you have become a vessel and a tool for the devil. And that's it. Now, before I end this, shout out to all of the Black people in our communities who are educators, who are leaders, who are activists, who protect our children, who are willing to sacrifice money for principle, who have values, who are role models. Shout out to all those Black folks who have gone against the grain for the past 50, 60 years and done everything that the enemy told us we were not supposed to do. Shout out to all the Black people who held the line in spite of their peers, their community, and their families telling them that they were worth nothing because they didn't want to sell out for money. Shout out to all the people, the Black people in our community who supported their family, multiple generations, with hard-earned, clean money. Not drug money, not criminal money, but you went to school, you got a trade, you started a business, and you're using those resources to help your community in spite of the entertainment industry telling you you should be a thug or a whore or an entertainer. Thank you all for the sacrifices you've made for our community to keep it somewhat intact for the past 50, 60 years. You should be getting paid millions of dollars, not these rappers and entertainers. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.